Well, I've got a little bit more to say since last video, and some of that comes from a conversation I had this past weekend doing some catch wrestling training and, talking about mixing styles and bringing things into MMA and all that. And I want to pick on Wing Chun just a little bit right now because, as many of you know, Wing Chun does not have a terribly strong name in the martial arts community right now. And one of the big problems that we have in Wing Chun is something that I talked about in a video a long while ago, which is the fact that the community in general kind of stopped fighting when basically in the mid 60s when the government started cracking down on the street violence in Hong Kong. So all of the BMO matches kind of stopped or went extremely private and quiet. And you have things like that go into basically making the culture more about technique. I mean, we don't even have to address the general degradation of the Chinese martial arts after the Cultural Revolution. It's not just that, but especially in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong was kind of a little bit of a different scenario. But a lot of it comes down to the fact that a lot of the tools are preserved, but the instructions on how to use the tools are not preserved. And one of the things that I have mentioned over and over and over and over again is that if you know how to fight, you can make just about any system work, right? And I made a video about that recently. But one of the things that I really want to bring up here is the fact that if you understand things from a principle base, and if you understand things more in the abstract, more in the sense of human anatomy and physiology, in the sense of tactics and strategy, and the roles of conflict and violence, if you understand those things in the broader spectrum and get away from some of the dogma and all of that, then all that's left is basically fighting. Now, I understand not everybody who joins martial arts is in healthy enough condition or fixable enough condition to go and compete. Not everybody is going to be able to become a law enforcement officer, a prison guard, a soldier, a bouncer, name any of those things, or put themselves in positions where those things come from. That's fine. We don't want to necessarily deny those people of the ability to train, because good training is good training regardless. And we have to admit that obviously if you don't experience things yourselves, there is going to be a deficit in your ability to understand and apply. It goes without question. However, you do have one small out, and that is training with fighters. Because if you train with fighters, and I don't necessarily mean cage fighters or ring fighters, I mean fighters in general, people who experience conflict. And yes, the context matters, and the solutions in context vary wildly, for sure. But the point is that if you train in a school where at least there's a significant portion of the student body, and preferably the teacher, who have some fighting experience, then you have a better chance of at least having some confidence in the art that you train, or at least within the school that you train. The art itself may be fine, and it may be the school. We've had that argument before as well. But my big point here is that while I think it is best to experience things firsthand, and you don't necessarily have to have a lot, you don't have to go out and have a full 30 to 100 fight career or anything like that, but you should experience some, beyond simple schoolyard scraps, beyond back alley brawls with untrained people. I mean, I do think that you should actually have to experience a significant level of threat and successfully dealing with that, more than once. Definitely more than once. Definitely closer to in double digits, but even if not, something, right? And like sparring is a good step in the right direction, but no matter how aggressive your sparring is, at the end of the day, you're still friends. You're still not trying to hurt each other. Whereas even in a sanctioned and regulated sport fight, the other guy's job is to try to hurt you, with the exception of like amateur wrestling, which is just pins. But by and large, the other guy's actually trying to hurt you. Like, knockouts have to be on the table. Submissions, if it's grappling, submission should be on the table. Things that actually make you experience threat and distress need to be on the table. And so that firsthand experience is really indispensable. But I would say one tier down from that is training with the guys who have that firsthand experience, because secondhand experience is still better than none. But as soon as you start getting past that secondhand experience and you get to, well, my teacher's teacher fought, that doesn't tell you anything. Like, seriously, the third degree is basically nothing. So you have 1, you have 2, and then anything past that is kind of useless. And you're really just relying on chance and fate to deal with that. And that's maybe not the best way to go about things. Now, look, if you're just doing it for exercise and health, more power to you. But don't be deluded into thinking you know something you don't. So that's kind of my advice to you right there, is whatever school you pick, whatever style you pick, make sure that you are either training to fight or you are training with fighters. As we know, there are some fantastic coaches out there who had kind of not very good careers, right? Angelo Dundee, I don't believe ever fought. Customato, I believe, had 1 amateur fight. And these guys are extremely well-respected boxing coaches, right? So it's possible to be a good coach without necessarily having the fight experience, but these guys did something that a lot of good coaches don't do. They trained their guys to go fight. And then they watched the fight, they looked for the successes, they looked at the failures, they did the math and figured it out, right? So again, even as a coach, you either have that experience or you need to be training your students to be fighters, right? And it does the entire class well, even if people are just there for fitness and fun, to be training with fighters so that at least they're getting good foundations. Even if what they're doing is going off into the realm of acrobatics and choreography and all that kind of stuff, you still want them to have a good basic foundation. It's not that dissimilar to fitness, where like even if you want to go into bodybuilding, you should probably do, especially in your early years, do some just big compound lifts and get strong first so you can actually push your body. And it's the same thing here, right? You get functional first and then you can go into the other stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know if I can say it any simpler than that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, right? You either train to be a fighter and you fight, or you train with fighters. Those are your 2 options. You don't really have any other options. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I will talk to you guys later. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, give the dog a bone. You can follow us on our other social media accounts, and if you really like us, you can head over to Amazon and buy a shirt. You can also go over to Gumroad and purchase some of our instructional courses. All of the links will be provided and also on our website. If you happen to be in the Phoenix area, we would love to meet you. Come drop in for a class, even just to chat. And if you're looking for a new home, we would be happy to have you. So until next time, good journey.